What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some more news concerning Deontay, the Bronze Bomber Wilder. Deontay Wilder says this about Anthony Joshua. He said that they made him do it. Said that the belts that he has, they were bought. And he wasn't real or ready for real opposition. He also said that, hey, I would love to still whoop that ass. I won't rob the fans of the fight that they want to see, but I have to know if they are for real. He also said that the Olympic gold belt that Anthony Joshua received was not even his. They gave it to him, and he wasn't ready for guys like me. Let me counterpunch. You know, I hear what Wilder says, and we know there's no secret to Wilder and Joshua. They're not really friends. You know, Wilder has every since 2017, late 17, Wilder's been on Joshua's smear campaign because of something that he claims that, you know, Joshua is Annabelle and Eddie Hearn is milking Annabelle. You know, it's some, you know, references to, you know, slavery shit. And he thinks that, in other words, he thinks that Anthony Joshua is getting milked for everything he's worth, you know. And then looking at what's going on now, you know, you got Joshua fighting Usyk and losing, now fighting Tyson Fury. A lot of people would think that. A lot of people would feel that that he's being rushed. That if he, you know, if he cared for his fighter, he wouldn't worry about the money. He would be more so, you know, eager to get him in there, to get him a good winning streak, because if Anthony Joshua loses again, you know, he'd just be known for that guy that lost again and again. You know, so I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I will say this about Wilder, though. The energy Wilder has now, like, hey, I still want to whoop that ass. I want to know if they're for real. Well, if you would have took that fight, like any of them deals, you would have knew if they were for real or not. See, if you're a Wilder fan or a Joshua fan, it's almost like a Dallas Cowboy fan and the San Francisco 49ers fan. We know in 18 that Wilder received offers after offers. He received 12.5. He received 15 million. He received a couple more deals, and then the next year he received the biggest deal that he ever had in his life from DAZN, and he turned that shit down. So then recently, his manager has came out and said we're interested in a fight with Anthony Joshua. You know, and it's like, okay, but then when they reached out to you, you said we're busy. So, you know, it's like the balls of people to say certain contradicting shit and want people to believe it, and people will believe it. You know, it's like, it's almost at this point, like, motherfucker, you're talking about fighting Joshua. You should have fought Joshua many times. Then you admitted that you took less money to fight Tyson Fury, which wasn't a fucking champion. He wasn't a champion. Tyson Fury was a fucking ex-champion in exile due to drugs and depression and whatever the hell he was on, right? So you picked him, and you knew you picked him. You admitted you picked him. Now you turn around and say, well, I just want to know if the Joshua fans are real, or the Joshua team is real about having a fight. Like, motherfucker, I don't believe him. I remember Deontay Wilder like, we don't believe him. No, I don't believe you. Because you had so many opportunities to fight Anthony Joshua to the point where, dude, really, like, it's almost like, okay, where's the angle coming from? Are you talking about Joshua simply because you got a fight coming up and you know Joshua's going to fight the dude that beat you 3 fucking times? Maybe that's the point. Because you saying that, like, oh, well, they made him, they gave him the belt. And let's talk about the belt for a minute. That's a lot of the belt. He probably was referring to the IBF belt with Charles Martin. And see, what I did find out, and I discovered that Wilder wanted to fight Charles Martin, but Al Heyman had already pretty much made a deal with Eddie Hearn when they were still cool to fight in the UK for Charles Martin to get $6 to $8 million in the UK. Now, mind you, that's even $6 million wasn't even the type of money that Wilder was used to. So Al Heyman really didn't have vested interest, obviously, in Charles Martin. So he had no problem with him going over there and taking on Anthony Joshua for that belt. I guess that was to see, okay, let's see what he can do. Shit, he's going to become a millionaire for fighting Joshua. So we'll see what happens, right? So he did that. He got knocked out. So if that's what he calls bought, well, you know, we could say a lot of your fights were handpicked. You know what I mean? So in essence, they're bought, you know, and I think Wilder should really focus on who the real enemy is. And the real enemy ain't the Joshuas. The real enemy is the people that had his career in shambles for the longest time. Had all them damn fights, and then you didn't even get a title shot until you had like 30 fights. Joshua, to this day, ain't had 30 fights. So if they force Joshua to do whatever, they force him to make a whole lot more money than you. You know. Now, I admit that I feel that Joshua, yeah, I want to see Tyson Fury him fight, but what type of him are we talking about? What type of Anthony Joshua are we referring to? Joshua might not be mentally ready for that. He's just going with the motions. You know, and Tyson wants to fight him now. So I get what he's saying, but it just seems like if it was coming from somebody that didn't have vested interest, that wasn't biased, that didn't have previous relations with Joshua, I would believe it, or there would be more reason to believe it. But I don't believe it based on the fact that Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua have had failed attempt after failed attempt, and they've turned it down like their shit didn't stink. You know, so I don't really take what Deontay Wilder says about Anthony Joshua, you know, too lightly. Because I know where Deontay Wilder and how he feels deeply about Joshua. He hates that man because he wanted to be managed like that man was. He just wasn't. He was carried along. He got low paydays. People didn't really know who he was. And he really wasn't an asset until about 4 years into his career. A golden Olympian named Anthony Joshua stepped on the scenes and pretty much made his significance. And then even then, he didn't get what he deserved because it was almost like an actor that kept getting passed up for parts because this other star actor was taking all the shit. Think about it. That was Anthony Joshua. That wasn't Wilder. Wilder started his career in 2008. Okay? And when Joshua went to the 2012 Olympics. So by that time, Deontay Wilder had already been a pro for like 4 or 5 years. He started, what, 13? Year 2013? So he'd been a pro for 5 years. So Joshua started making those paydays. Joshua and Eddie Hearn was building their things. You know, Eddie Hearn knew he had a guy that he could market, a guy that kept getting endorsements after more endorsements and sponsorships and all that. He had a lot of that stuff going for him. You know, and Wilder didn't have that. You know, and then I think Wilder seen it, and I think Wilder envied it. He wasn't jealous. He was envious. That means he wanted something that Anthony Joshua had. I think he always did. He wanted the recognition, and he wanted all that. And guess what? For him talking up Joshua's name, that's what gave him significance. And he ended up getting more money, more offers, more opportunities. So he should be praising Anthony Joshua, if anything. You know, but the saying, oh, well, those things were given. Yeah, well, you were Olympic bronze. So even if Joshua didn't beat the fighter that they said he beat, well, that means that he would be silver, and silver still beats bronze. So maybe that's, you know, another biased point that he was trying to make in that article. But you guys tell me what you think of Deontay Wilder saying that Anthony Joshua's belts were bought and not earned. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.